All right, there we go. So 3, 2, and 1. Well, Administrator Steve, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Great sunny day as we are recording here across central Wisconsin. Just don't let that fool you because the air will still hurt your face as soon as you walk outside. It's still a bit cold out there.
I'm looking at where you're at and where I'm at on our call here, and it is nice to look outside and see the bright sunshine, isn't it?
It really is. I just wish that this is actually the view that was behind me, that I was actually in a suite at Angel Stadium and that we were getting ready
Yeah.
for baseball. This is just my way of putting good vibes out there that the players and the owners are going to come to an agreement. We're going to start the season on time and everything is going to be right with the world. But I don't see that happening, but that's another negotiation and conversation for another time that goes much above both my pay grade and your pay grade, I think.
Very true. Very true. But I agree with you. People look so forward to the beginning of baseball season. Hopefully they can work it out.
Indeed. One thing that you are going to be working out in the city of Marshfield here over the next few weeks is you are going to have a new mayor, and you've gone without for close to a year now. And now not only is there interest in the position, but there's a lot of interest, and you're going to have a primary coming up next month.
We are. It's been really weird for the last, 9 or 10 months when people call and they say, I want to talk to the mayor, because people, when they call, oftentimes want to look for the top elected official. And then we tell them that we don't have one. And that kind of takes them back a step for a minute. I got to say, though, that our council president, Nick Paschal, has done a wonderful job of filling in. But the council did make the decision back in April, after Bob McManus had been removed from office, that they wanted to go a year and just have a council president do the bare minimum, sign the documents, run the meetings, but not really have a full mayor, so to speak. But you're right. This year we have 3 candidates, and the primary will be coming up in February on the 15th. That will narrow the field from 3 to 2. The 3 candidates are Ken Bargander, who's a former council member, Lois Teestrake, who is a former member of the board downtown, the Main Street board. In fact, she was a president of the Main Street board for quite a while, and she's a business owner downtown. And then Bob McManus, who is the former mayor, who was removed from office back in March of 2021. All 3 of them are on the ballot, looking to be among the 2 that make the cut for April.
Yeah, and a lot of people, may have had that record scratch, head-turning moment when they hear that Bob indeed is running again. And there is, you've done all the checking on this. It's legal. He can indeed run again for an elected 2-year term as mayor. And go ahead and explain just exactly why that is.
Yeah, that has confused a few people. When someone's removed from office, I think the thought is that they can't come back to that office. State law, though, Chapter 17 is what he was removed under by the council by 2/3 majority. That doesn't bar you from life. What it basically says is you can't run in the next, if there's a special election to replace you, you can't run in that. Well, that would make sense, right? Can you imagine if the mayor was removed in March, and then in April we had a special election to fill a spot and he was on the ballot? That wouldn't make any sense. But it says nothing at all about running again. So here we are, 10 months later, and he's very eligible to be running for mayor. I mean, he didn't commit a felony. He hasn't done anything that bars himself from serving as a local public official. But I understand the concern. I understand the questions that people have as to, wait a minute, how can this be? We went through this whole process with the hearing. They removed him from office, and now he's eligible again. But under state law, that is the way it works.
And he had to go through the same process that anybody else would in this election process. I mean, he had to get the signatures. He had to do some campaigning, some brief campaigning to get himself on the ballot. And obviously, he was able to complete all of those tasks. So there is interest in bringing him back, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was the first one, I believe, to turn in his paperwork with all the required signatures. You have to get at least 200 signatures from people in the community that say they want you to run, that they support you. And he got that turned back in fairly quickly. There are a lot of signs for him around the community right now that I've seen have gone up. I think Bob has a fair amount of support. There are probably people that believe he was removed from office wrongfully. There's others who probably believe he was removed from office appropriately. But there's no doubt that there are people in this community who are backing his candidacy, and we'll just see to what degree as we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the ultimate test coming up. And the first one is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's February 15th, right?
Right. That's when we'll narrow the field from 3 to 2. And then those 2 finalists will go on to the April 5th general election, and somebody will be elected mayor at that time.
Yes, indeed. And then we can maybe remove you from the hot seat, and then the mayor will be the one that answers all these questions, right?
Well, it's kind of funny. I've done most of this kind of thing, and not just with you, but with our
Mhm.
local radio station and others. And I don't mind doing that. I kind of like these interviews. I like connecting. I like talking about what the community is doing. And so I'm glad to do it. But yeah, when the new mayor comes on board, that can be their role. Maybe I can talk for a minute before we move on to,
Sure,
maybe you're going to cover this anyway, about the council seats that are open, because
sure.
we have 2-year terms for council here in Marshfield. And so that means every year, the way we roll it over, half the council is up for reelection. And a lot of times people are running unopposed, and that's kind of true here. 3 of the seats, Mike Fire in District 1, Ed Wagner in District 5, and Adam Fisher in District 7 are running unopposed. But we'll have one new one and maybe 2 new ones on the council, because Michael O'Reilly is running in District 9, where Tom Butke, after 22 years, decided it was time to step aside. So we thank Tom for his service, but Michael O'Reilly is the candidate in District 9. And then there's a contested election in District 3, where Quentin Rosendich, the incumbent, is running against Natasha Tompkins. So we'll definitely have 2 new elected officials and possibly 3, and that could bring some discussions and possible changes to it, City Hall.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're in this business for. We want those discussions. We want to hear new ideas every now and then, because one group or the other is not it does not back all the ideas into the corner. They don't have the market cornered for that. The new blood getting in there every now and then is great to see, especially at the local government level, because that's where people have the most impact on their lives directly.
It really is. You make an outstanding point. And I was the administrator in Ripon for 13 years over by Oshkosh in eastern Wisconsin. And I remember the first time I said publicly that I thought it was great that more people were filing for office and that we had contested races. And I had one of the council members say to me, "Wait, aren't you happy with us, or what's going on?" I said, "No, no, no, no. But I'm very happy with you." But I just said, debate and conversation is good. You want new ideas, and I'm not saying you ought to win or somebody else ought to win, but it's good to see people come forward with fresh ideas, and then you can have a debate, you can have a forum, you can have competing articles in the newspaper with a different vision for the community. That's a healthy thing. When you never have anybody run for public office rather than the incumbents, a lot of people say, well, hey, no news is good news. Well, sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. So I totally respect our council. I really enjoy working with our council. We have great people. But when people come into the fray and say, I want to put my name on the ballot, I care about my community, that's a good thing too.
Yeah, indeed. And one thing that you're going to have, you're actually going to be spending a lot of time with this on Monday. Speaking of people who care about the community, the Police and Fire Commission, entirely made up of citizens, as it is in most other communities here in Wisconsin. They are going to spend a good majority of the day today talking about the position of police chief, and you're going to be involved in that process a little bit as well today, right?
Yeah, on Monday, yeah, absolutely. And we will be interviewing. There's 3 candidates that'll be interviewing for the position of police chief. We got a company called McGrath out of Northern Illinois. They do recruitment, and they helped do an extensive search for us. And we got a number of candidates. We've narrowed the field down to the finalists here. But what'll be happening is there'll be 2 teams conducting interviews. So every candidate will meet with two groups. I'll be on one of the groups along with other individuals, I think council and staff members. And then one team will be exclusively the Fire and Police Commission. And then after that's over, they will get our feedback from those of us who are not commissioners, and we'll give some input and thoughts on the various candidates, good and bad, that we saw during the interview process. And then they'll seclude themselves and talk about it and see if they can focus on who might be the top candidate for the city of Marshfield. And it's a heavy weighted job. Think about these are citizens, private citizens, and they're good people serving their community. But with what's happened here in the last couple of years, they probably feel maybe even a weight on their shoulders to make a good decision and get the best possible person they can for a good fit for the city of Marshfield. So I'm not trying to put extra pressure on them at all, but it's an important job, and I'm glad we've got some good people who are going to be making those final decisions.
So then at this time, can you release the names of those finalists at this point, or is that still under wraps?
I don't know. I don't even have them myself at this moment, to be honest with you.
Okay.
They'll be presented to us kind of, we'll get their information at the last minute. We'll go through it. We'll be able to look at their written information too. But I don't even know the names of the people involved at this time.
Sure.
And they won't come out of that meeting and make a big announcement, and there won't be smoke going up out of City Hall and that kind of thing. But what'll happen is they'll probably get a sense of who they're most favorable toward, and then we'll begin the process of talking to that individual, seeing if it's a good fit, doing background checks, to make sure that everything checks out in terms of their history, their other jobs and whatever. But I suspect that it won't be real long down the road, sometime in February, when hopefully there'll be an announcement made, and we'll have a new police chief.
And that's one of many positions at City Hall that you are looking to fill. You've also got the fire chief position that's going to be vacant here. I'm sure that one will probably be what's focused on next by the commission as soon as they're done with this process. But then you also have some pretty high-ranking officials in finance, utilities as well that you're looking to fill. I know at least last time we talked to you, you said you were going to have some of those positions. Have you found the right person yet, or are you running into, well, essentially the same problem everybody else is these days with trying to hire?
Well, that's a difficult thing. You're right. Let me start with the fire chief. The commission met about a week ago, and the fire chief, Scott Owen, just left service. He turned in his resignation. He just ended his work in December. I think the last official day might have been right at the beginning of January. I can't remember, but so they're starting the process. They've named Pete Fleddy as acting fire chief. He filled in as acting fire chief when Scott Owen was on medical leave a couple of years ago. But they were going to talk about the process. Do you want to use an outside recruitment firm again? Do you want to do it internally? And the chair actually said, I was tuned into the meeting, was on TV, and I said, yeah, made a good decision. He said, with the police chief thing hanging over our heads right now, maybe we wait till the next meeting before we talk about how to move forward with the fire chief recruitment. We've got a good acting chief. Let's kind of start buttoning one down before we start on the other. So I suspect as they make a decision on the police chief, that on the tail end of that will be really ramping up the search for a new fire chief. But look for that to take 90 days or so too, perhaps, I mean, possibly, at least if they get a recruitment firm and go through the whole process that McGrath has gone through. Maybe it'll be shorter than that. But that's an important position too, and you want to give it a lot of thought and a lot of time before you make those final decisions. I can go through some of the other positions if you'd like. We
Sure.
did have our finance director, Ron Allman, resigned after 3.5 years. His last day was back in November. We've been taking applications. We've done interviews now. We hope soon to name a new finance director. That's obviously a critical position at City Hall. Wastewater superintendent, Sam Warp, retired after 10 years of service here. I can't tell you how many great things Sam did. He got kudos way beyond our borders for some of his phosphorus treatment and some of the new processes we came up with and that were recognized statewide and beyond. But I believe the application deadline is now passed on that position. So hopefully we'll be going through applications and being able to select a new wastewater superintendent. Mark Kivala, the acting superintendent, is filling in for the moment. Our human resources director, Jennifer Raku, who did a marvelous job here in her 6 years, came to us from the hospital in town. She has taken another position now outside of city government. So we've gotten approval now to move forward with that rehiring. We'll be taking applications for probably 4 weeks. And again, that's a key position. We're talking about really important positions. Every job is important, don't get me wrong. But we're talking about department and division heads. And these are critical. So we really need to get them filled. One we just got filled recently, I can tell you about though, our zoo manager, Steve Burns, who runs the Wildwood Zoo. He resigned after 10 years and he's taken a job elsewhere. But Sarah Storant, who's been working at the zoo under Steve for a while, has been named now as the zoo manager. So she'll be taking care of things out at Wildwood. So a lot going on in the staffing area, Michael.
Yeah, indeed. And it's all about getting those the right people in the right places to do the jobs. And that, helps you get through times like this where you are short-staffed, a mayor, a police chief, a fire chief. If you've got those people in place that can pick up the slack, it really makes things a lot better. I'm sure, especially for you, since you have to have your finger on all of this.
Yeah, it does. And the first thing that pops up when people like this retire or resign is we got to get that filled. Let's get out there. We need a finance director. We need a fire chief, but you want to get the right person. So you want to be very thoughtful and okay, now where do we advertise and how long do we want to take applications? And do we want a company helping us who really has been through this before. It's a very important thing to do and get done soon. But on the other hand, it's important not to rush.
Hmm. Indeed. And one more thing before we let you go, I wanted to talk about some developments coming to the city, which is also, of course, under your area of expertise as the city administrator. You've got to do a lot of things behind the scenes to make sure that your empty buildings get filled. The Shopco building, I was just in Marshfield a couple of months ago, saw that that's been filled, or you've at least been able to utilize some of that space. But your mall is the other big one. And you do have somebody who's going to be coming in and taking up some of that space here very soon.
Yeah, and before I hit on that, I just want to say that I think we've survived COVID. Well, COVID's not over, right? The pandemic is not. I wish you and I could declare the pandemic done today, but I
Believe
don't
me,
think
I do too.
I don't think we'd have any effect by making an announcement between the two of us.
No, I don't
But
think so.
But I think our community has done really well. I know some other communities have been hurting more during the pandemic. We've hung in there. We've lost a couple of businesses, but the ones you've named, TJ Maxx is coming. There's a lot of buzz about TJ Maxx, a great retailer that a lot of people enjoy. And I believe that at one time they were going to open in January. It sounds like it's going to take a little bit longer now, but they'll be opening soon in the former Office Max building. And then one of our bigger spaces in the Marshfield Mall, and again, malls are hurting. You've seen this in Wausau, you've seen this elsewhere, but trying to hang in there. But Harbor Freight, and they do a great job of tools and those kind of things. They are taking up a good sized space in our mall. And I think that they're going to be opening fairly soon too. I don't have a date, but I think by the end of winter, both of these businesses will probably be up and running. And that'll be a good thing. And just to touch on one more thing, I mean, even commercially and industrial and residentially, we're doing some things. Our new subdivision with 23 new lots, the one that the city has brought together. We have 14 of the lots sold for new homes to be built here soon. There's new housing being worked on the south end. We've expanded our industrial park. We're trying to buy 125 acres from the UW extension to have more land for industrial development. So in the midst of COVID, in the midst of all the struggles that communities go through, I think we're doing some good things here. And I got to commend Josh Miller, our development services director, and his staff on hanging in there through the tough times and really working it, along with our partners, the Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, and others.
Yeah. And when you open buildings like this, you bring in businesses like this, you're diversifying your workforce a little bit, especially if you're able to expand in your business industrial park, which makes you that much more resilient to times when things aren't normal, like the last 2 years have been.
Well, true. And some of the bad things that happened that kind of got people down in the dumps here in Marshfield were not our control. No, Shopco left. Well, Shopco left everywhere. They went down for the count. Office Max left. Well, Office Max closed a lot of its stores. So this was not a repudiation of Marshfield as a place to own a business. It was just maybe the bigger chains that either had problems or didn't see a market here anymore for some reason. It wasn't anything we did. I think we've done a good job of trying to keep business going as best we can.
Well, we appreciate the time, Steve. We'll look forward to chatting again down the road.
That sounds good, Michael. Have a great day.
You as well.